But going back to like, mixed messages. The one that's always confused me. So like, I want to talk about some of the. Well, we're gonna get the solutions in a second though for this situation that they're in, or see if we can find some. Is the unemployed guys, and so first of all, shout out to Joe Mixon. Uh, Joe Mixon like, yo man, I ain't trying to be out here in these streets with y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and
Right.
take a pay cut, be
Mm-mm.
here, keep riding this thing till the wheels fall off with Joe Burrow in this offense. But the one that's interesting to me is more so Dalvin Cook, because with all due respect to Zeke and Leonard Fournette and Kareem Hunt, who seem like they've tailed off quite a bit, I think Dalvin Cook still has some quality football in him. The Jet situation puzzles me, Charles McDonald, because the Jets have four cheap young running backs. Now, granted, there's one coming off of an ACL, and that's Brees Hall. So they got Michael Carter. They drafted Izzy Abanikanda in the fifth round, I believe, this year. And Bam Knight had flashes last year. I never understood for the life of me, even if you question just how ready Brees Hall is and if he will take time to truly get up to speed, why you would spend money, presumably decent money, which is Dalvin Cook would want, to add him to that running back room, Charles McDonald? Or is that just good old fashioned media leverage to try to get more out of Miami, who's a little less loaded at running back, Charles McDonald?
It's off season talk, and I think I don't even think that you'll see movement on guys like Dalvin and Zeke until training camp like really starts. We get to the swing of things, and you'll maybe you see a team like the Jets, and you get to camp. Brees Hall's not 100% ready, like maybe you thought, because if he's ready, there's no real reason to sign Dalvin Cook. That's your bell cow
Yeah.
back for the season. But I think maybe you get into camp and say, okay, well, we have a problem here at backup running backs. Maybe someone's not picking up pass pro like we need to. And with Aaron Rodgers, every year becomes a go for it year. So maybe he's a spot where or the Jets are a spot where Dalvin can come in and slide in. But even then, um, I would just ask, like, why would the Vikings feel so comfortable releasing Dalvin off a 1,000-yard season? I think when you go back and look at it, it wasn't like as consistent as I think as you would hope. Maybe you could see the wheels kind of falling off towards the end of the season there. So I'm not really sure what that contract is going to look like. I don't think that he has a whole lot of room to stand on. Like, hey, I'm going to go out here and try to get myself like an $8-9 million contract for 1 year from a team. And it sucks because like he is still someone who can provide value, but I think we've seen, like, if you're one of those top guys, but you're not like at the top of your game anymore, teams are going to drag their feet on signing you. There's no rush. We're going to see what we have in camp. If someone's not performing
No
up
pun
to
intended.
right up to the capabilities that we had expected upon them, then yeah, we'll go out and look at an Ezekiel Elliott, a Kareem Hunt, a Dalvin Cook. But we talked before, there's so many guys that are just
Right.
out there. I mean,
Young
even the
dudes.
Falcons, they took Bijan Robinson 8th overall this year, but last year they had Tyler Algier, who they found in the 5th round. And like over the back half of the season, he was one of the most productive running backs in the league. So it's tough. It's a tough game. There's just a whole lot of guys. And look, it's kind of like basic economics. When you have a whole lot of supply and not a whole lot of spots,
Right.
I guess the price is going to go down for that.
So, Charles, is there a market for these dudes? Is there a market for the Fournettes, Hunts, Elliots, and Cooks of the world right now? Because I mean, like, you got, again, talk about off-season talk, McDonald. Uh, you got Cook being like, "Oh, I'm just taking my time
Mm-hmm.
until training camp, and try to decide the best situation for me." And then there was some rumblings about the Commanders looking into Kareem Hunt because I guess the enemy connection. But it's like, is that more like ideal or just spin, or is do these guys actually have options at this point? Given the landscape of this position, it would seem like nobody really wants them. Is the hard truth.
Well, none of these guys should go just anywhere. I mean, it's that's the thing too, is it's not just teams looking at this and going, well, we want to see what we have, which I think Charles is absolutely right. They do want to see what they have. They do want to get into camp and figure out what does the depth actually look like in the running back room. Um, but I think it's also the running backs sitting there going, well, I don't want to go into a crowded room. I want to go somewhere where I have opportunity because I kind of need the Odell Beckham, come up with the Rams, which would have worked if Odell hadn't gotten hurt in the Super Bowl. Odell would have walked out of that situation with the contract he, was ultimately looking for. And that's what these running backs have to accomplish. Like if you're a Dalvin Cook, the last thing you want for any of these guys is to be Le'Veon Bell, who, okay, the Steelers decide after that season where he sits out, they go, all right, well, we're going to let you go. We're not going to tag you again. Go ahead, walk. So he picks the Jets, which paid him, a bunch of money, or at least it looked like it up front. And he goes into a situation that was horrible. It was terrible for him. The team around him was terrible. And then what ultimately ends up happening to his career? He goes through, another 3 teams.
Is he boxing?
Yeah, right. He literally goes through another 3 teams over the next 2 years. Has little short-lived stints in Tampa Bay. I think he went to Baltimore for a minute, and then I can't even remember
Kansas City.
Kansas City. He was on Kansas City for a minute. Yeah. Kansas City, Tampa Bay, and Baltimore, and then that's it, and then it's over. And I think are we looking at Dalvin Cook saying that could happen? Hell yeah. Yeah. If Dalvin Cook goes somewhere and he gets into a situation where he gets beat up, it's not a good team, the next team around is going to look at him as an even more middling player. The money's going to be worse. The competition's going to be better. It's a very precarious situation that he finds himself in, any of these running backs. And the last thing you want is just to choose wrong, because you have a small window to operate with here. So I do believe that the players are trying to find the best possible position for themselves for 1 year
at their price, and at their price.
Yeah. I mean, for Dalvin, I think it plays into it. Zeke somewhat. Kareem Hunt probably not.
Could he end up back in Dallas? Could Zeke end up back in Dallas?
Yeah, I mean, I think he could.
It makes sense.
I don't. It does. It does.
Sense,
as Charles says, it does make sense. I mean, it's you got Tony Pollard, who's going to play out, this season on a 1-year deal. The dynamic would be similar to what it was last year. The play calling will be, you would think, a little more different and play into having that rotation, because Kellen Moore's out the door. You got, Mike McCarthy's already said he really wants to focus more on having a consistent running game. And there are friends there. He has support, both the front office still likes him, owner, Jerry Jones still likes him. I think the coaching staff still likes him. He's a known commodity. So, and as you brought up, like with Bieniemy, it's the same situation for like a Kareem Hunt. At some point, these guys are, if they can't have their pick of the litter, they're trying to go somewhere where they're known, where there's a friend, where they have a lifeline. And I wouldn't be surprised if Zeke ends up back in Dallas. But I do think that even for the teams, it makes sense to get through some of camp, figure out where the injuries are going to occur, because running backs are going to get hurt on NFL teams, and that's going to create some opportunities. And then that's when some of these teams will become buyers. So I don't think it's not like a D-Hop thing right now, right? I mean, it's not like, I would be more shocked if these running backs sign right now than I was with DeAndre Hopkins ending up with Tennessee. And I would be absolutely stunned if they got D-Hop money. I don't think there's any chance in hell where they land a contract where you're like, wow. Yeah.
Hey, thanks so much for kicking it with your main man, Michael Smith. Be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel, but also subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Rate it, review it, tell your friends about it. Oh, and be sure to follow me on social media.